Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to all, especially to our SPM candidates. Welcome to webinar Kecemerlangan SPM English Language for 2023. Today we'll be looking at paper 1, that is reading and use of English. This webinar is a joint effort by the Sarawak State Education Department and Pedawan District Education Office. We'll be sharing information on the format and also the answering techniques for paper 1 with the aim to help all SPM candidates in answering the questions. Before we start, allow me to introduce the speakers for today. Okay, so myself will be covering part 1, 2 and 3. My name is Noliana binti Abdul Latif. You can call me Miss Liana. I have been teaching English for 13 years and currently teaching at SMKA Sheikh Haji Osman Abdul Wahab, Kuching, Sarawak. My colleague will be covering part 4 and part 5, Madam Alicia Javelina binti Arif. She has taught English for 10 years and currently teaching at SMK Jalan Arang. Okay, so if you have any questions along the way, you can leave your questions in the chat box and we will answer the questions at the end of the session. Boleh start? Alright, before we start, let's take a look at the overview of the whole paper. So SPM English Paper 1 consists of 5 parts and 40 questions altogether. If you look at the slide here, it shows that part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4, part 5 will have all 40 questions. For example, part 1 will include short text, 8 questions. Part 2, rational clause, 10 questions. Part 3, longer text, 8 questions. Part 4, gapped text, 6 questions. And part 5, limited response, 8 questions. Okay, we will go in detail to all the 5 parts. Okay, so for reading paper, what will be tested? You will be tested in your literal comprehension, okay, your ability to understand what is mentioned in the text and how to transfer the information in your answer. It looks at how well you can read to understand main ideas, details, opinions, and implied meanings. Implied meanings means the ones that are between the lines, okay? And it will also test your skill in skimming, scanning, and reading for details. All right. Tips and tricks for the whole paper. What to do and what to not do. Read and understand the instructions. This is very important and this is required for all 5 parts. Read the question carefully and understand what is required in the question. After you have understand what is required in the question, you highlight the keywords, scan the options and omit the wrong answers. If you do not know the answer for that certain question, you can skip the question, but do not forget to go back to that question at the end. And what you shouldn't do is to read and answer without checking the requirement, which means you answer in haste. And then you waste time on the questions, leaving you rushing at the end because you cannot answer and then you cannot blacken your answer sheet. So you will leave questions unanswered. Okay, next. Okay, we will go through part 1. So part 1 consists of 8 multiple choice questions, 3 options for each question, and it will include linear or non-linear text. Okay, linear means the direct traditional form of text, while non-linear will include graph, charts, or images. Okay, let's try this together. Sample question for part 1. We'll go through a few so that we won't waste time. So here, if you take a look, question 1 to 8, read the text carefully in each question. Choose the best answer A, B, or C. So if you remember what I said in the previous slide, you have to highlight what is required in the question. Okay, so if you look at the question, which of the following statement is true? So highlight the word true. Okay, you are looking for the true statement in the text. Okay, so if you look, Kuala Lumpur, Suli 40 is the grand prize winner of a 400,000 ringgit double-story link house in the slogan competition sponsored by Best Food Products. A happy Sue told reporters that she is very lucky to have won the prize. So which of the following statement is true? So go through all three options. A. Suli took part in a slogan competition. Suli needs to work for Best Food Products. And C. Best Food Products will pay Suli 400,000 ringgit. So go through all three and omit the wrong ones. Okay, so if you take a look at A, Suli took part in a slogan competition. It is clearly mentioned in the text that Suli is the grand prize winner of a 400,000 ringgit double-story link house in the slogan competition sponsored by Best Food Products. So A is the answer. Okay, take a look. So if you look at B and C, you have to still go through all the options. You have to look at B and C and confirm with yourself that the answers are indeed wrong. All right. Now we move to another sample question. Okay, so this one is in a form of an email. Okay, so from the email we know that Fatima, okay, so when questions ask you, we know that Fatima, without clearly asking for which statement is true, you know that they are asking for a true statement from the email. Okay, so identify first, you have to identify who is the sender and who is the recipient of the email. So in this case, it is clear that the recipient is Fatima. So from the email, we know that Fatima, what does Fatima has to do? Okay, so A wants to buy something online for Daniel. If you look at the email there, I just browsed something on an online shopping platform and saw something that I think Daniel will love it. It is a camera drone and a branded one. Do you know how eager he is when talking about the camera drone and how you can record the best footage with it? This is a similar and lighter version, so it's easier to carry around. It's a little bit pricey, but if everyone chips in, I'm pretty sure we can afford it. It's selling fast. So tell me what you think as soon as possible. If you do not read the requirement of the question, you will get confused because you will think that, oh, Fatima wants to buy something online for Daniel, and you will check A for the answer. But the truth is Fatima does not want to buy something online because it is the sender who wants to buy something online for Daniel. So as we recall just now, Fatima is not the sender, she is the recipient. Alright, so go through the answers again. B is collecting money to buy a birthday gift for a friend. Okay, so B is collecting money to buy a birthday gift for a friend. So if you look at the email, in the second paragraph, if everyone chips in, I'm pretty sure we can afford it. So the sender is collecting money, asking for friends to chip in to buy the gift for Daniel. So look at C. Fatima need to give decision quickly to buy a gift for their friend. So this is clearly the answer because this is what Fatima has to do. Because if you look at the last line there, so tell me what you think as soon as possible. Okay, so the answer should be C. All right. Okay, let me remind you, if you have any questions for the parts, you can put it in the chat box and we'll answer it at the end of the session. Okay, part 2 comprises of 10 questions, 4 options for each question, and it is in the format of filling in the blanks. Okay, so this part will test your grammar and your vocabulary skills. Alright, so if you look at the sample question here, this is the format. So my advice for all students, for SPM candidates, if you look at your question paper, every part at the top of your question paper, they will mention the marks and also time suggested. So before SPM, when you try to do your exercises, you time yourself and make sure you answer the parts within the time limit. So for in this case, part 2, 15 minutes. Alright, so this is the format here. You will have one long text with 10 blanks. Okay, so the answer options are on the next page. Okay, so my suggestion for you is when you are practicing to answer your SPM question, when you go through the text the first time, fill in the blanks with your own answer first. Okay, when you read and then you decided that, oh, I know the answer for this one, you fill in the blanks with your own answer, and at the end of it, you check in the options, the 4 options given for each question, is your answer in the option, is among the options. If it is in the options, then your answer is correct. If it's not, then find something similar to replace your answer. Okay, let's go through a few questions. We're not going to go through all. Okay, so here we will take a look at question 9 to 12. If you look at the slide, young hero Daniel Radcliffe. So this text is about Daniel Radcliffe. So first, what you have to do is you identify the type of text. The text can be factual, it can be fiction. Before you do everything else, identify the text first, and then number 2, identify the tenses used in the text. Is it in present or in the past tense? Okay, after that, you take a look at the first sentence of the text. For example, in this one, you see, it took 11-year-old Daniel Radcliffe 8 months and many auditions to win the role that would blank him a star. Okay, took, I highlighted took there because took is in past tense. So most probably all of the answers could be in the past tense. Okay, so take a look at question 9. We'll do this together. Auditions to win the role that would blank him a star. So if you try to answer this without looking at the options, you can insert that in the blank. Nowadays, it would be hard to imagine else as Hogwarts' favorite young wizard, Harry Potter. Although it was Harry who made him famous, Daniel had already prepared in 2001's The Tailor of Panama and the BBC's David Copperfield. So his blank in David Copperfield drew the attention of producer David Heyman, who was searching for the perfect actor to play the boy wizard. With filming for the Harry Potter series set to take place in Los Angeles, USA, Daniel's parents turned the role at first, but thankfully the film shoot moved to the UK and the stage was set for 11-year-old Daniel to make movie magic. Okay, for this part 2, make sure that you identify the tenses and then you try to answer. But take a look at the word that I circled there, would. When you have a modal before the verb, the verb should be in root form, okay, the base form. So the role that would, number 9, your answer should be make, okay, would make him a star. Nowadays, it would be hard to imagine. It would be hard to imagine someone else. You might put someone else, but it is not in the option. So someone else, the similar meaning to someone will be anyone. So anyone else as Hogwarts' favorite young wizard, Harry Potter. Okay, so number 11, his in David Copperfield drew the attention of producer David Heyman. So his, if you look at the options there, function, post and duty, all of them are not suitable for the answer, so it should be role. Okay, his role in David Copperfield drew the attention of producer David Heyman. Okay, number 12. Number 12, look at the next sentence to find the clues for the answer. So this is a phrasal verb, okay? With filming for the Harry Potter series set to take place in Los Angeles, USA, Daniel's parents turned down the role at first, but thankfully, the word thankfully should be a clue for you to answer that question, all right? So number 12 is down. Okay, now moving on to part 3. All right, part 3 comprises of 8 questions, also with 4 options for each question, and it is including an extract, factual or fictional. So be reminded, this is a reading paper, so all 5 parts will include a reading text. Okay. For part 3, your guessing skills will be a very important skill. The technique to find the meaning of new words with the clues used in context. This technique is used to find the meaning of new words through the relationship of the words around with some clues that are provided in the context. Okay, so we call this educated guess. Okay, it's not just guessing blankly. I mean, some students will use the term shoot for the answers. You don't shoot your answer. You use the skill of guessing. You educated guess. Okay, we call that. Okay, so use the wording of the question or answer as a clue to eliminate possibilities. Choose the most precise answer and avoid answers that seem out of context. You use your guessing skills when you do not know what the answer is or you don't know the meaning of a certain word. All right. Okay, so this is how part 3 will look like. Okay, so part 3 will have a much longer text compared to part 1 and part 2, and then you will have 8 questions to answer based on the text. Okay, so if you look at the questions, if you are familiar with the format, you will know that the questions is in order of the paragraph, so it makes it easier for you. So the first thing you have to do is to number the paragraph. Okay, when you reach part 3, the first thing you have to do, you number the paragraph so that you won't be confused which paragraph the question requires you to answer. So in this case, there are 5 paragraphs altogether. I'm not going to read the text for you, but I will give you a few examples. Okay. Question 19 to 22. Okay, some articles, some questions, they will start with, okay, in paragraph 1, comma, and then the question. But some article, they will not mention in paragraph 1 or in paragraph 2. But you will know that based on your common knowledge that it is going to begin with paragraph 1. So from question 19, if you look at the text, you read throughout the text once, and then you skim and you scan for the answer. For example, number 19, Mina was suffering from. Okay, so if you take a look at the text, Mina is an established baker today. However, her life was never a bed of roses. Her story is a true rags to riches story. And then you find similar words in the text, similar words to the question, because if you look at the question, they will have similar words from the text to help you answer the question. Okay, for example, if you look through the option answers there is the word autoimmune. Okay, autoimmune. And in the text, there is also autoimmune. So that will help you answer the question. So she was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and that clearly is the answer for question 19. So Mina was suffering from an autoimmune condition. Okay, D. Yeah? Okay, in paragraph 1, Mina had mapped out her future, but the odds were against her. The best proverb to describe this is, okay, this is when your guessing skill will come and play its part, because some students, they might not know certain proverbs, and so when you come with this question, you have to guess the answer instead of using your vocabulary knowledge or anything, because you need your guessing skills. Okay, so if you look at the options, man proposes, God disposes, keep the nose to the grindstone, out of the frying pan into the fire, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So those are the options. So how do you use your guessing skill? So you take a look at the options, and then you omit the ones that you think has nothing to do with the text, the context of the text. Okay, so we are talking about Mina, who is suffering from autoimmune condition, and then she has already planned out her future. She wanted to be a chef, and then the odds were against her because she got sick. So keep the nose to the grindstone is completely out of context. Out of the frying pan into the fire is also out of context, and then when the going gets tough, the tough gets going is also out of context. So man proposes, meaning man can only make plans, but God will be the one who decides if we are going to go through with that plan. So the answer is A. Okay, for number 21, prior to her hospitalization, Mina had, so there are going to be words that are not in the text, but you have to find out the synonym of the word so that it can help you answer the question. For example, the word prior highlighted here. prior is also the same. The synonym for prior is before. Okay, so before. So you highlight, you look at the text and you find the word that is similar in meaning, and then you take a look at the context of the sentence for your answer. So prior to her hospitalization, Nina had getting sick with the hope of starting her career as a pastry chef. She had mapped out her future, but the odds were against her. She was then caught in a whirlwind of medical complications. So here is also going to be where the answer is. Okay, take a look. Lost her job is completely out of context. She designed new desserts. No, okay, because she has not yet get into the bakery profession. She worked at random jobs. That is not mentioned in the article. And then she signed up for pastry chef course, was mentioned in the line before the word before. Okay, so she has also enrolled in pastry chef course highlighted in the text. Okay, so that is the answer for number 21. Okay, for 22, which of the following phrases tells us that doctors were not able to diagnose her medical condition? Okay, so all these questions, only one of them mention which paragraph the question is referring to, but you can actually go through the order of the paragraph in order for you to find the answers for the question. Okay, so for example, for this one, there is no mention in which paragraph, but you know that it's going to be either paragraph 1 or paragraph 2. So which of the following phrases tells us that doctors were not able to diagnose her medical condition is in paragraph 1. It is still in paragraph 1. Okay, so her life was fragile. Fragile means vulnerable, very weak. So it is not in the context of the question. Being a medical guinea pig. Okay, so this is something, this is a possible answer. So if it's a possible answer, you KIV, keep in view, right? Baffled by her physical condition, also a possible answer. So keep that. And then whirlwind of medical complications. It does not imply that the doctors were not able to diagnose her medical condition. So it's either B or C. And then you go back to the question, find out what is the requirement of the question. Which of the following phrases tells us that doctors were not able to diagnose her medical condition? Okay, so if you look at the text, she was in the hospital for 3 months being a medical guinea pig. So if you know what that means, the meaning of being a medical guinea pig, she is being experimented on. So when people do experiment, it means they don't know what is going on. They try to find the cause of that disease. So you can also be confused by C because of the word baffled, but we are talking about the condition, her medical condition. So the answer for this one is B, all right, being a medical guinea pig. There you go. Okay, next one. Her big break into creative cake designing industry came along when, if you take a look at the paragraph, soon enough things began to look better. Okay, soon enough things began to look better can actually be replaced with her big break. Okay, it looks better because she received a call from her friend who wanted her to bake a cake with sugar figurines for their wedding anniversary. So the answer for this one, it is a bit confusing because this question that I choose is not the typical SPM questions. Usually they will mention directly or in paragraph 1, in paragraph 2, and then they will use the same word in the text so that it will be easier for you. But I share this form of question so that you know exactly what to do when you are being introduced with this question. All right, okay. Her big break into creative cake designing industry came along when A, she embarked on fondant icing. B, she and her fiance were jobless. C, she was given a tinkle by an acquaintance. And D, she had to live in a moth-infested apartment. Okay, so number 1, you have to find out what big break means. Okay, big break means something good. okay, something good that happened to her. So she embarked on a fondant icing was not mentioned as the first thing that she did for her big break. She and her fiancé were jobless is not something good. Okay, she was given a tinkle by an acquaintance. You might be confused because you don't know what tinkle means. And then she had to live in a moth-infested apartment. That is also out of context. So it is between A and C. That was also mentioned in the article. Okay, so if you take a look at the text again, when she received a call from her friend who wanted her to bake a cake with sugar figurines for their wedding anniversary. Okay, so that is actually the big break that was given to her. So she was given a tinkle by an acquaintance. If you look at this question, it is purposely done to confuse you because they changed the word friend to acquaintance. All right. Number 24. Mina did not want to be employed because she wanted to build her own clientele, enjoy being dictated by employers, did not want her work of art be made trivial, and disliked working with demanding employers. Okay, so for this question, you take a look at the last paragraph, paragraph 5. It was then that she realized that she didn't want just any job. She didn't want to work for people who underappreciated her work. She wanted to spend her time doing what she likes best, to create and bake impressive cakes. She was comfortable working from home at her own pace rather than being dictated by others. And she is a proud owner of Craze Pop Cake School. Okay, so based on the text and the ones that I highlight there, another tip is that you highlight the things that you think will help you answer the question better. Okay, so wanted to build her own clientele was not mentioned in this paragraph, and enjoy being dictated by employers is just out of context. Okay, she obviously did not enjoy being dictated. Okay, and then did not want her work of art be made trivial. Trivial means trivial is actually the same word as underappreciated. Okay, so there is a similarity in context there. But if you take a look, disliked working with demanding employers, it is mentioned twice in the paragraph. She did not want to work for people who underappreciated her work. Okay, and then she rather work at home at her own pace than being dictated by others. So the answer is clearly D. All right. Okay, number 25. Which of the following is true of paragraph 5? So we are still in paragraph 5, the last paragraph. She is employed by Craze Pop Cake School. You can omit this immediately because she is not employed by Craze Pop Cake School. She is the proud owner of Craze Pop Cake School. Okay, she is the proud shareholder of Craze Pop Cake School. If you think this might be the answer, you keep it in view. And then she teaches passionate bakers the fundamentals of baking. She conducts courses on handcrafting cakes for skilled bakers. Okay, so it's either B, C, or D. So take a look at the text again. Okay, she is the proud owner of Craze Pop Cake School. So proud owner does not mean she is the shareholder. Shareholder means there are also other people in the business who has a share with the business. Okay, she teaches passionate bakers the fundamentals of baking. So if you take a look at the text, she works every day as a creative entrepreneur and teaches passionate, like-minded bakers. So that is a possible answer. She conducts courses on handcrafting cakes for skilled bakers is not mentioned in the paragraph. So the answer is C. All right. Okay, the last question is usually HOTS question, higher order thinking skills. So the aim of the writer writing this article is to A, dampen bakers' enthusiasm, B, inspire the man on the street, C, plummet the public's creativity, and D, depreciate the community's passion. Okay, so for this question, I think this is quite easy for you because the other three options that are clearly wrong have been made very visible because of the verb that they put in front of all of it. Okay, so dampen, plummet and depreciate are all negative words used. Okay, so if you take a look at the text again, if you go through the text, it is about someone who, okay, inspire the man on the street. So what is the meaning of the man on the street? Some people will get confused and say, oh, it is talking about a man. So man on the street is actually used to refer to normal people. Okay, we're talking about normal people. It doesn't matter of gender. So if we say the man on the street, comment the man on the street, we need the comment from the man on the street, which means we need someone who's from the normal background. Okay, so that is for part 3. So if we recap for part 1, part 2, part 3, basically all the skills will be the same. Number 1, make sure you read and understand the instructions, you understand the questions, the requirements, read the text thoroughly, and then, but don't waste time in reading the text, especially when the text is a very long text. Okay, you read it once and then you use your skimming and scanning skills to find the answers in the questions. All right, and then use your guessing skills when you have no idea what the question wants you to do. Okay, so because there are options, you can guess, but please remember, guess and shoot is not the same. Okay, you have to guess wisely. All right, okay, so that is all for part 1, part 2 and part 3. The answers here, sorry. Okay, so before I end my session, before I give the session to my colleague, before SPM, my advice to you is to read sample essays and jot down new words, and then you find the meaning of the new words, drill yourself on model questions, time yourself according to the time limit, watch educational videos like webinars like today, online classes, and this is very important. If you ask your teacher, they will also say the same thing, which is make your dictionary your best friend. Alright, so good luck to all SPM candidates. Now I will leave you with my colleague, Madam Alicia, to continue with part 4 and part 5.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Madam Alicia, and we are going to continue the reading session today for part 4 and part 5. How do you find part 1, 2 and 3 just now? If you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat box. We'll get to you later on, yeah? Alright. So, what are the final 2 parts in paper 1? I bet you already know. Part 4 is gap text and part 5 is matching and information transfer. Both parts give a total marks of 14. Now, what should you do for gap text? Gap text requires you to fill in a gap with the most suitable sentence. The gap must fit in order to complete an idea or the whole paragraph itself. This part has 6 gaps and it gives you 6 marks. So, before you start answering, bear in mind for these reading strategies. On the slide, you can see skimming for the general idea. So, you must skim and scan so that you will know what the text is about. Second, scan for specific details. Look for elaboration, examples, or additional information. And number 3, guess the meaning of unfamiliar words from clues in the text. And lastly, to recognize the attitude or opinion of the writer, so you will have an idea about the whole text. Is it negative or positive? Now, let's look at the sample question. This question is taken from the SPM paper 2021. Look at the steps that I've written there. Step 1, get the general idea of the text. It is specifically for the main idea and the structure itself. Step 2, read the sentences A to H. Before that, look at the box in red. The words in the red boxes can help you to know what the whole text is about, and this usually is shown in the title or at least the sentence, the last sentence of the first paragraph here. Advantages and benefits. Alright, can you see that? Okay. You don't have to read the whole paragraph first, yeah? Remember to skim and scan. And the next step just now is to read the answers A to H. A to H. This helps you to have an idea on what is expected in the text that you are reading. Some ideas and examples may be given to you here. Okay? A to H. Remember to read. Yeah? Lastly, read the sentence before and after the gap. These sentences contain some clues such as word or words that can help you to determine the suitable answer for the gap. So go through the answers again, A to H, and choose the most appropriate answer. Let's try to do question 28. The gap here, 28. What do you think is the most suitable answer for this gap? Got the answer? Yes, the answer is H. If you read the sentence before and after the gap carefully, it is obvious that the word decisions that I underline here is the clue in H, because the word decide in the sentence after the gap, the last line here, alright, will give you the idea that H is the most accurate answer. Apart from that, the word choose and comparisons in H here, and the word choose after the gap are clues for you to relate these two sentences that make them coherent with each other. Alright? Are you still there? Next, let's look at question 29. The word security system. In the sentence after the gap, the one in pink gives you an idea that the answer must be about the idea of security. Hence, the answer will be E. There are plenty of security concerns in many of the shopping sites. So as you can see here, you have to read. For gap text, let me remind you again, you have to read and reread the sentence before and after the gap in order for you to get the most accurate answer. How do you find part 4 now? Here are some tips that could help you to fill in the gap. First, highlight the keywords such as the use of adverbs, pronouns, and subjects. Secondly, when matching, focus on the keywords and synonyms as well as the tenses used in the sentences before and after the gap. If it is a past tense, usually in the whole text, it will give you the idea the whole verbs used in the text will be in past tense as well. And lastly, please reread the paragraph whether the sentences fit well. Always refer back to the topic sentence or the thesis statement of each. Just type your questions in the chat box. If they are, we will get back to you afterwards. Transfer, which carries 8 marks. This part is different from other parts of the question because you need to write your answer in the answer sheet provided. you should only blacken 7 to 40. You have to write the answer in the space provided. So, what should you do in this part? It is very similar to other parts of the paper. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. Read carefully. Not only the questions, but the instructions as well. You have to apply the reading strategies that you have learned. Skim and scan, guess the meaning, and recognize the attitude or opinion of the writer. Now let's look at Part 5. In Part 5, there will be 8 questions. You have to read 6 texts given, approximately 60 to 80 words. Read the questions and then identify clues or keywords for the answer. So as you can see here, in the orange box, those are the paragraphs that we need to know. A, B, C, D, E, and F. You only need to write the letters for the answers, questions 33 to 36. You don't have to write, for example, A. Joe, 16 years old. No, you don't have to write the full answer. You only have to write the letters. Now, let's look at the questions 33 and 34. In questions 33, there are few words and phrases underlined. These are the keywords to help you to find the answer from the text. Okay? Question 33. While having a good time with my friends and keeping fit, we get to preserve our environment too. So that is question 33. Remember, you have to read the text for the first time. And just now, so you basically finding a similar piece to fit in the puzzle there. Where can I find those words? Where can I find the clues? Of course, it will be in the text. Here, the word keeping fit is referring to exercise. Where can you find the word exercise? And preserve our environment is to reduce air pollution. Okay? If you are not sure about these words, the meaning itself, don't worry. You may read other paragraphs and try to find the synonymous words. But if you can't, then it is the most suitable answer. Okay? So, as you can see here, I've labeled question 33 in E. So, the answer is E. Paragraph E. You only put the letter E, not E, Jaya, 15 years old. You don't have to write that. You only write the letter. Okay, the same goes for question 34. I've underlined it for you. 34, it is our responsibility to ensure the safety of our ocean life. So, it's in A. It's in A, all right? In the seas, okay? The words underlined, in the seas, whales and other big marine creatures. ... choke and eventually die. Okay, so here that refers to the safety of the ocean life. Ocean life involves whales, the big marine creatures, so those are synonymous. So basically, if you go through A until F, only A has the right answer. All right, any questions? Now, finally, let's look at questions 37 to 40. It is important for you to read all the paragraphs first before attempting to answer. Just like I said in the beginning of my presentation just now, read first, then you can assume or guess the answer correctly. Alright, don't shoot, remember. So, why we need to read first? Okay, read all the paragraphs, because the answers won't be too straightforward. Okay, let's look at the blank for question 37 here. Alright. Avoid using plastic-made items like bags, containers, and ... The words in the red circle, bags, containers, are in B. Okay, Lily, 15 years old. But, there's a but. The answer is not there because there are no other examples given. There are no other examples given, only bags and containers. So where do I find this answer? So what you should do is to look at the word plastic-made items. You have to think, what are other items made of plastic? Yes, that's right. Pointing down here, as you can see on the slide, plastic bottles. Yes, plastic bottles. In A, it is clearly written for you there. So you just write the word bottles in the blank. Don't write the word plastic anymore, as it will be redundant in the sentence. Okay? The word plastic made has told us that it is made of plastic. So you don't repeat the same word in the sentence. So you only use bottles. Yes, you just write the word bottles in the blank. Remember to check the words too. Either the examples are given in singular or plural. Okay, so it is very obvious here, the word bags with an S, container with an S. So here it will be plural. So bottle cannot be bottle alone. It has to be plural as well. Bottles with S. Now, we have done with the examples. Do you have any questions? If you do, just type it out in the chat box and we will get back to you after the session. Now, answering tips. For part 5, highlight the keywords in the question. Find similar words in the text to the keywords highlighted. And of course, for note completion, especially for questions 37 to 40, focus on the preposition used before the gap to decide the word form which fits in the gap well. Pay attention to the use of singular or plural nouns as well. For example, the use of prepositions in, on, or at, or the infinitive to, or the use of a and the in a sentence to indicate plurality or singularity. The word and to link the same word form. And of course, lastly, to focus on the suffix of the words. Alright, so that is about part 4 and part 5 for the reading and the use of English in paper 1 SPM. Now, I'm also going to share with you the technical part of the exam. I bet everyone knows, all of you, candidates, teachers, And I also know that your teacher has always reminded all of you to answer, to blacken your answers in the answer sheet. Am I right? So, for your information, we are using hybrid answer sheet for this exam, SPM. So, for all multiple choice questions, you will be given a hybrid answer sheet, and you are going to use this for the reading, paper 1, and also listening, paper 4. Okay, so my advice is for you to use a pencil, preferably 2B, alright, 2B pencil, for you to blacken the correct answer. So, erase the wrong answer neatly. Use an eraser to erase it neatly. Why? Because your answer sheet will be scanned. Yes, it will be scanned, and your answers must be clear. Don't let these technical errors or mistakes cause. Okay, remember, 2B pencil, blacken your answers, erase neatly, and remember to blacken again. Don't leave your answers blank. Okay, as you can see in the slide, you have to blacken it neatly, okay, in the circle. And of course, if you need to erase, erase it neatly as well. Now, we look at the red box. Okay, this red box here. Space for answers that are a word, phrase, or number. Okay, so it clearly tells you only to write a word, phrase, or number, not letters. Yes, do you remember in part 4 just now? There are letters for you to fill in the gaps, and part 5 where you have to write letters for the paragraphs. So you have to blacken them. Don't write in the space. Okay, so you can only use this space for the last part in part 5, where you have to write one word answer or 2 words answer. Alright, read the instruction carefully. So, here it is, questions 37 to 40 in the red box. Write your answer in the space provided. Check your spelling, capitalization if needed, plural or singular words, or the use of prepositions or infinitives before the blank. Alright, remember to read the instruction carefully. If the instruction says no more than 1 word, how many words that you have to write? 1 word or 2 words? Yes, 1 word, no more than 1 word. Okay, so here, write your answer in the space provided. Check your spelling again. I'm reminding you here. Capitalization. Sometimes you have to know if it is a proper noun, it has to be capitalized. Alright? Check for singularity or plurality of the words. Look at the sentence. If the examples are in plural, your answer must be in plural as well. Use of preposition in, on, at, or infinitive before the blank. To infinitive, no S for the word. Remember? Alright, so we have come to the conclusion. Alright, the do's and the don'ts. Let us recap. The first do, read the instruction and questions carefully. Second, practice more to master reading skills. If you know that your vocabs are very limited, starting from now, do your reading. Okay? Answer the questions accordingly. You must answer the questions, not go above or beyond. This is reading, yeah? Not writing. Next, highlight the keywords. If you can't use highlighter, you are not allowed to bring it in. Just use your pencil to underline the keywords. And of course, find synonymous words. Like I said just now, and all your teachers, you cannot find the answers straightforward. Okay? The answers are there, the answers are in the text, but you have to find the synonymous meaning. Okay? And the don'ts, there are only two things that you don't need to do. First, you don't just shoot. Yes? Shooting is not good here. Okay? Answer the questions without reading the instruction of the text. Don't do that. Alright? Because it's a reading paper anyway. So what should you do? Read. And secondly, wasting time on the questions. Remember, how long is your paper? 1 hour, 30 minutes for part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 and part 5. Manage your time well. If you are a slow reader, you manage your time on which part that you require the most time. Maybe part 3, maybe part 4 because it's a gap text. So you need to read and reread and read again. So please manage your time wisely. Alright, so we are almost at the end of our session today. Any questions? So you just type your questions in the chat box and we will get to you in the Q&A session after this. So SPM Candidates 2023, I wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, we have finished with the session. Now we're back with the Q&A session, where you can ask questions in the chat box, and we will answer the questions for you. But as we're looking at the chat box here, there seem to be no questions. So I hope that means that our explanation and our sharing session was clear. And but still, we have collected questions from our own students from our schools, and we will share the question with you just in case some of you will join later, not during the live session, so you can actually get the idea of what maybe you have the same question but you can't ask us during the live session. Okay, so I will be asking the question and Madam Alicia here will help answer and clarify the doubts that students have. Okay, so we have a few questions from our students. Okay, some students ask, what if they answer correctly in the question paper, but then when they blacken the answer in the answer sheet, it's wrong? So which answer will be accepted, Madam?
Alright, so thank you, Ms. Nurliana. So I think there are problems like this where the students actually answer the questions correctly in the question paper but not in the answer sheet. So like I mentioned, it's a hybrid paper, so we only check the answer sheet. So I'm sorry, you will not get your answers if you get it correctly for the question paper. We only mark the answer sheet.
Okay.
Right.
So students need to be extra careful.
Yes.
Don't rush when you answer, when you transfer your answer to the answer sheet, okay? Okay, next question. I think this one is the most asked questions. Okay, for in part 5, there is the last part where you have to write down the answer, the one-word answer. Okay, so students ask, what if there is spelling errors when they answer, when they write it in the answer sheet?
All right. For spelling errors in part 5, the one that commonly found was the missing S. Yeah, missing S. So if you miss that S, you will not get marks. Okay, you are going to be penalized. Why? Because for this part, it is meant for you to look at the paragraph, look at the words and spell it correctly, because you only need to transfer the word to the answer sheet given to you. So if you have spelling errors, you will be penalized.
All right, thank you, madam. All right, moving on to the next question. Okay, this student asked, what if I don't understand the question or the words that is found in the passage or in the question paper?
Alright, so basically this is every student's problem, I guess. Yeah, so for this kind of this question that the student asked, what if I don't understand the question? So like we mentioned earlier, you have to make dictionary. That is the first thing, because before exams, that's what you do. But what if, teacher, in the question paper itself, the word is too difficult for me to understand? So what you can do is to find meaning in context. So in the context, in the passage itself, there are words or sentences before and after that can make you comprehend the word on its own. Or you can guess the meaning actually.
Yes.
Yeah?
All right. Okay, I hope that's clear. All right, next question. Okay, for the answer sheet, should I use pen or pencil?
You should use only pencil. Why? Because like I mentioned also, it's a hybrid paper, so it is safer for you to use pencil. And let me remind you again, you have to use a 2B pencil. Why? Because it is clear, and when we scan your paper, it can be seen clearly.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay, this one is regarding part 5. Okay, are proper nouns which consists of more than one word considered as one word?
Proper nouns which consist of
Two
more-
words, yeah.
2 words, like Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
Okay, like Kuala Lumpur or Kuala Lumpur International Airport, Kuching International Airport, those proper nouns are considered as one word.
Okay.
And apart from that, word with dashes, like time consuming, time dash consuming, that is also one word.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so and then the last question here is, what if it's a phrase? Is a phrase considered as one word?
Okay, a phrase. Can you give me examples of phrases?
Maybe phrases like the answer maybe consists of 2 animals or 2 boys, and then they put down 2 boys for one word
2
answer.
boys, 2 animals, or perhaps phrasal verbs like
Yes.
cut down, switch off. Those are 2 words.
So it is considered
2 words.
wrong.
Yes.
All
wrong.
right.
Yes.
Okay, so basically all the questions that we collected are technical, questions on spelling errors, not really on the question paper itself. Okay, but before we end our session, our Q&A session, we would like to remind you to always, because we still have time before SPM, So to always make sure that you study, a lot of my students they ask me the same question, which is, Miss, how do we study English?
Exactly.
How do we study English, Miss? I don't know how to study English. Okay, so for reading paper, you have to read. Okay, it's as simple as that. Reading, you read English texts or English model essays, sample essays. All of the essays they revolve around the same themes that will be used in listening, also speaking, and also writing. So that's how you study for English. All right, Madam Alicia?
That's right, Miss Liana. I would also like to remind the students that, like Miss Liana said, you still have time to do your revision and how to study English. Do more practices,
Yes.
because it's a language. We learn it every day.
Yes.
Use English in your classroom. Speak English, and of course, do your exercises, because all these words we are familiar with. Actually, it's just that we don't practice it and we tend to forget. Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, for reading paper, the students have to do more reading and practices, all the model essays or model questions. I believe everyone is doing that right now.
Yes.
Yes. So, and I also hope that the students will make dictionary as their friends.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is very important.
Yes, so that you don't have any problems understanding any words in the passage, because I don't think that the questions given to you will be as difficult as what it seems, because all the words, all the vocabulary you have learned in your Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4 and Form 5 syllabus.
Yes.
So it should not be a problem.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Alicia. Okay, so that's the end of this session. We hope that this session for you is beneficial for you. It will help you for your SPM. If it doesn't, you can do more practices. You can do your own research online. And signing off, we would like to say good luck to all SPM candidates. All the best.
All the best, SPM candidates 2023. We pray the best for you and see you again.
All right.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.